everybody. So, all the players met at the tavern for session 1, and then Tiamat came in and just destroyed the place. There's nothing left of the players. I mean, not the characters. So session's canceled. Welcome everyone to the Sessions Canceled podcast. It is me, Isaiah, at the head seat today. I'm here with Matt.
Hey there. I like how we're doing another 80s D&D reference.
Yeah, great. I was going to say, you realize Matt already did that one.
I did a little too late.
No. His was in the tavern. Mine was just...
Yeah, but you both referenced the same scenario where Tiamat showed up at level 2.
It's a good bit.
I'm just saying.
It's a good encounter idea, Josh.
I don't think it is.
He's already spoken, but Josh is here as well.
I have indeed. I've spoken. I'm here. God amongst men. Bow down.
Oh, I see.
Tip number 1, throw team at your level 1 players. They'll love it.
They might. Assuming they survive, yeah, they probably will.
No, they're not going to survive.
I was going to say, there's no scenario where they survive that, so... Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine. You can just do like the Godzilla thing, like in between the toes. Now that's how they don't get stomped on.
In between the toes.
And then like they do their pitiful little level 1 attacks. Maybe the fighter action surges and then Tiamat goes and walks away.
they hit her in the toenails, and she's like, "I got someone."
Yeah, just like flick the bard into unconsciousness. They're like, "Oh shit." All right, boys. So, as y'all are aware, I'm going through a rough spot right now in both my game and the real world, and I've been sort of thinking about this a lot actually. And I feel like you guys might think about this too, or you have to some degree, because we're all dungeon masters and this is just sort of how our brains work. Like, I'm just gonna, like, the topic today is pacing, right? Because I always feel like my sense of pacing fucking sucks so bad.
Oh, well then I hope Matt has some good ideas, because I don't do this very well either.
Oh, god damn it.
Matt, you gotta save us.
Yeah. I was, for the record, Sam, once again, I don't even know what to say anymore. I think he's just moved in with Nurgle. I think they're roommates now. I don't know.
They're roommates.
Yeah, like I think Gray became a beast of Nurgle. He's just not going to be with us for today.
I wonder what Nurgle's like in the morning.
Well, he's considered jolly, so jolly.
Interesting. I don't know.
I just keep getting all the Sunny in Philadelphia clips from fucking 40K, like the 40K Sunny in Philadelphia memes, where they're like, Charlie's a like worshiper of Nurgle, and it's just like, oh, what is happening here?
Yeah. Charlie would be a worshiper of Nurgle. Dennis is a worshiper of Slaanesh. Mac is a worshiper of Khorne, and D is a worshiper of Tzeentch. It like perfectly fits their personalities. It's kind of crazy.
I haven't watched this shit. I don't know what you're.
Oh, that's a good show.
You should really watch it. It's so fucking funny.
Like, there's like 14, 15, God knows how many seasons.
Yeah, there's like 15. My favorite episode of all time is probably when they put the one that everyone talks about when they put on the play, and it's not even like the troll toll bit. There's just a whole this weird tangent.
I've seen that one.
Oh, you have seen that episode? Yeah. For the record, listeners, if you don't know, it's the episode where Charlie wants to like write a play, but somewhere on the long line he starts huffing paint. And he's just a weird control freak, so they kick him out of the play writing. And then fucking Dennis comes to his apartment like almost at the end of the fucking episode, and Charlie's just there with his windows covered by blinds, and he's just got silver paint all over his mouth.
like a fucking Immortan Joe boy.
Yeah, yes, literally. Like the lights are off, and when Dennis turns them on, you just hear. You're like, oh my god, he's just covered in silver paint.
War boy, that's what they're called. I couldn't think.
Yeah,
War boys.
Hey man,
fuck me. Yeah, day man.
Yep.
Champion of the sun.
Yeah.
Fuck, I love that episode so much.
Okay.
but trying to bring it back on
A Sunny in
track.
Philadelphia tabletop game. How do?
The end.
You just play all chaotic, chaotic and neutral fucking murder hobos. That's basically what they do, right? They own a business kind of that they don't
Kind
like,
of.
they're the only ones who go to. No one knows how it stays open. It's probably because Frank's filthy rich.
Yeah.
Somehow.
Frank's the
Yeah,
level
and-
20 character who's chilling.
I mean,
Exactly,
to be fair,
yeah.
a lot of people I've known that were bartenders act exactly like the guys from Sunny in Philadelphia. So
Yeah, so like, yes,
I
understand.
think that's just a bartender thing.
Yes, but none of that, like, they never have customers. That's the weird, like,
I mean, some episodes.
okay, sure. They might have some customers, but they don't have enough to justify keeping a business open in the middle of Philly.
True.
Anyway,
Anyway, that has nothing to
yeah, nothing to do with anything. Just first 5 minutes talking about It's Always Sunny. I was wondering, because we've talked about, I've spoken about wanting to do either like City of Mists or Cyberpunk or maybe like Apocalypse World. Matt, you were looking at either Cyberpunk or Rise of the Demon Lord.
No, Josh was looking at Rise of the Demon.
Shadow.
Not Rise. Shadow of the
Shadow
Demon.
of the
Sorry.
Demon Lord, my bad.
For starters.
Right now, the only one I was looking at was Cyberpunk Red. Although
Also,
the other day, I remembered what you showed me a while ago. Carbon, Black
Carbon.
Black Carbon.
Yeah, and I'm like,
Or
maybe
you talking
this
about a
would
different
be.
Carbon.
talking about a different thing. Different game?
No, yeah.
think-
So there's a game that I sent Matt a while back called Carbon, and it was like a beta tested, or it was a game in beta, or I sent it to him after it was in beta. But like, it's a Cyberpunk game with 5e.
Yeah, and I'm
And
like,
they do some
maybe
really
this
cool
could
shit in
be. Yeah, I'm like,
Ew.
maybe this could like I can ease into it better with this. But then I started reading some of the rules. I'm like, I'd rather just learn Cyberpunk.
Okay, never mind. I'm not going to say what I was about to say then. Never
You're
mind.
welcome. Yeah,
Listen. Well, look, because we had the picking up new games episode, and I didn't say it, but I do think maybe we do need a part 2 of that one.
Oh.
A lot of people are like, I'm trying to find a way to ease into other. There's no easing. It's you just switch.
Well, I think
There's
Carbon-
no-
Carbon, you know what? I will say it did a good job with some aspects, but then others, I was like, this doesn't have the right vibe because they had like the tool proficiencies and stuff, and it's like, how does the disguise kit work in Cyberpunk?
God.
I'm like,
Yeah, well, because you know what the problem is when you try to do that, right? Because I've heard other people sort of say that, where they're like, oh, if I play a Cyberpunk hack of 5e, that'll help me ease into like other Cyberpunk games. No, all that happens is you just reinforce the old bad habits you had from the original game. You don't. And the whole point of trying new systems is to break out of the old bad habits. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah. If you're talking about systems specifically, yeah, I see what you're saying. But when it comes to like settings or genres, I feel like that can be pretty helpful.
okay.
I mean, yeah, I guess if you're only worried about getting introduced to the setting, but if you're only worried about getting introduced to a setting or a genre, I would say tabletop's the worst way to do that anyway. I would say look for movies or books or shows or whatever in that genre to really get it, Like if someone really wants to get a feel for Cyberpunk, I'm not going to say read the Cyberpunk Red rulebook. I'm going to say read Neuromancer or Snow Crash. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but every little bit helps.
Unless you're one of those dorks who doesn't read, in which case get your shit together.
Damn.
I'm sorry, but I'm an audiobook kind of guy.
I mean, that's not true. You were literally just talking about reading a light novel like maybe 10 minutes ago.
But like
okay.
I'm also only like 4 chapters into it, and I've read it for like a month and a half already.
I didn't say you had to read fast. I read slow as shit too.
I'm struggling, but
Speed is not relevant.
but to the main topic.
Side note, by the way.
You bitch.
Well, because you said you're like, oh, whatever else you were. Shadow of the Demon Lord, Worlds Without Number, The Witcher, and Cyberpunk Red are all games I've been looking at in the last month.
So, my man doing better than me. I haven't looked at any games in like 2 or 3 months.
It's because I'm bored with my game,
Price. So I was thinking, like, when I made my setting originally.
Wait, I just thought of another thing.
Much.
No, this time it's important. If you're listening and you like the chaos that has already ensued, hit the follow or subscribe button on your podcast platform of choice, because Isaiah didn't give me an in, so I just had to force my way in. Also, our analytics tell us who's following on Spotify.
LMAO.
So I know if you're following on Spotify or not now. So you better do it. I'll know.
Oh.
I see you, Giga Hamster 1234669.
I do. Thank you for the follow.
All right.
So
I was thinking, when you do the game, right? Like, I think I've said it about 1 million times. My initial conceit for the game was, JK LOL. I don't know, like, no real story. We just sort of do it to the players get bored, and then like a story sort of worked itself out of that. So I didn't really have any like conventional ideas for pacing other than I just want to play Borderlands on tabletop. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you start off like sandboxy? Like you're like, I just made a bunch of areas and,
completely 100%.
Yeah. And I'll figure out a story at some point.
Well,
yeah, there's a plot somewhere here.
If I remember correctly, because I remember the early days of when Isaiah was planning for this campaign a while ago. If I remember correctly, Isaiah was like, yeah, I'm going to Borderlands it, and it's going to be sandboxy, and it's going to be sort of running around doing all the weird quests like you do in Borderlands. And maybe halfway, not even, I don't know, quarter of the way through from where he is currently, he was just kind of like, I give up on the sandbox thing, it ain't happening.
It wasn't that I gave up, it was...
It's more work than you were ready for?
No, not even entirely that. I was having trouble thinking of, like, jobs for them to do. Because I will say, planning 5e jobs is a lot more, is very stressful. Because you plan the quest and they do it in 3 sessions, and you're like, oh shit, I gotta do it again. Fuck. But that's more of just me not liking prep. But no,
I mean, that's not bad. Doesn't sound that bad though. I mean, 3 sessions, that's actually kind of like the average, I feel like, or at least like a lot of sessions. Especially if they're doing like side quests or like a main job. Like you were mentioning. Yeah,
for a while I was like, okay, we'll do 1 job a month, basically, right? Like session, like first week of the month you get the job, then like there's the go to the place. 3rd week is like scoping it out and getting in to do the job, and then the 4th one is like the boss fight or whatever the fuck, and you finish, go home, and turn it in. And for about 5 or 6 months, that's basically how it went, pretty much like clockwork. But I had remembered since like when my setting was just a 1-shot in like 2017, I had like planted some seeds for like a long-term job or storyline, really, and it sort of slowly worked itself together, and it was almost completely by accident. I kept wanting to push this little thing of like, oh, there's more bandits showing up, why are they getting organized? But I didn't want it to like take center stage until it like boom happened, and then the players would take like maybe 3 months to do this thing and then just sort of go along with their day again. And then 3 months turned into 18 months.
3 months turned into 18 months.
Yeah.
Well,
so as you can see, my idea of pacing is a bit shite, isn't it? Like it kind of sucks. Or did, because every time I was like, oh, like, well, they can't fight a big fight yet because they don't have reinforcements. So they're gonna, like, how are they gonna get the reinforcements? And then they get the reinforcements. I'm like, oh, well, they don't have mechanized weaponry. They don't have like tanks and cars and shit. So they got to figure that out. How are they gonna do that? And then it's like, oh, well, they need like a secret weapon. And they gave them a mech suit, like. And it's not like I just handed this shit to them, and like they had to go do shit for it, and that just sort of ended up taking up a bunch of time.
Yeah.
I don't know. And then now that ended last year, like June of 2020.
They've had a mech for a year now?
Well, they don't use him a lot.
Oh.
Like, because it's the caveat, right, is that it's got a miniature nuclear reactor.
Oh, right. I remember this.
And when they're in it, it leaks radiation, poisons, and kills them slowly. So they're like, well, could we bring out Django? And they're like, nope, not doing that again. Someone died last time. And I think they're just afraid to use him now, which good, but also I wish they would bring him out more because I have a lot of really cool shit for Django that they just haven't seen yet. Like he's got different loadouts and abilities and shit.
He's got the haste spell. He's got thunder. He's got thunder wave. He's got shatter.
Yeah.
Exactly. 26 AC.
It's great. But yeah,
I mean, have you thought about if you want like your players to use it more? Like someone maybe has kind of repaired it or has been like, listen, he's not leaking radiation as much as he used to, so now he's safer. Still dangerous, but safer than he was before.
Yeah, I mean, I've thought about it. I kind of like the idea that Django gets brought out when the situation hits Fubar. Yeah, it's like we literally need the biggest gun because Django's thing is not really its damage potential. It's that it just can't go down. Like it's got a damage threshold of like 10. So unless you do more than 10 damage, you're not doing any damage to it, and it's resistant to physical damage. So unless you're doing 20 damage to it, you're not doing any damage to it. Unless it's of like an elemental type, and then it'll suffer normal damage. So it just eats damage for breakfast.
I don't think the issue Isaiah is having is that little mech situation. Yeah.
No, I was just throwing that out there for like if you want the players to use it more, like maybe make it not as dangerous.
I think it's a good idea to not let them use it a lot. I think you're on the right track on that one, Isaiah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to strike a balance because they've only used it once, but I want them to use it more, but I don't want them to use it a lot.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's why I mean, make it safer, but it's still dangerous. Like so that way they'll actually like pull the fucking thing out once in a while.
You could do a one-time thing. You could do like give them a one-use item that makes it safe this one time to use type situation.
Oh yeah, give them like Radaway.
Yeah, like you have enough. Like I can build in some shielding that'll protect you from the radiation, but it's only gonna last like an hour before it just eats through it all. As an example.
Good one.
All that being said, back to your original thing. Or your original wasn't a question.
Keep talking about this mech.
Original point, I guess. It wasn't a question. That particular example, I don't think is so much an issue of a pacing misunderstanding. So much as it is a very common new GM problem that everything ends up taking longer than you think it's going to take when you're getting it ready. And usually the reason for that is, two main reasons that I've noticed over the years is problems that are going to get solved. You think of a bunch of different ways they could tackle it, and you're immediately like, oh, it won't take them very long to solve this problem, whatever, X and Y situation. So this probably will only last like an hour. And then you get into gameplay and it takes them 3 hours to come up with any kind of workable solution. Because you don't want to just like tell them an answer or whatever.
Or you'll have the exact opposite problem where you're like, I built this whole session around this one puzzle. They'll never solve it. 2 seconds later, fuck, I didn't prep the next room.
Yeah, I feel like that happens less often, though.
I feel like it's just as amount. I've heard both, like the amount of the
both
same amount of
stories do happen, but I
sides.
think a lot more people overestimate what players are going to be able to figure out because it's really hard to disconnect your train of thought because, you know, you're the one making it. So of course the solution to the puzzle looks easy to you. You came up with the puzzle. You know what I mean? That whole problem. So that's the one thing is assuming players are going to do things faster. A really easy micro example is assuming a combat's going to be a lot faster than it is because you assume like your players know what they're doing. And a lot of the time players don't know what they're doing. If it's a new group, or sometimes there's just some players that between sessions, even though they've used Shatter 8 times, every time they ask you how does Shatter work, and you're like, bro, I don't, you know. So like that's a micro example.
I have had that happen before.
I know everyone's had it.
I love her, Moon. I love you so much, but 3 years in, she's like, is Action Surge a bonus action to use? And I'm just like, no.
I do give spellcasters a little less
Spellcasters, yes.
I give them more rope with that, because like spells can be complicated. But if it's like a spell you're like casting every fucking session, where it's like, James, you're known as the fireball guy. Yeah. What do you mean you don't know the radius of fireball? You've done it every session. We've been playing for 5 years.
Yeah, like,
well, I just don't know, man. Like, what's the?
Yeah, like Ant in my game's always using Shatter. If at some point he was like, how does Shatter work? I'd be like, dude, you've used Shatter in every situation you could ever possibly use Shatter. It's your favorite spell by far.
You're like, you're more experienced than me.
Yeah, you know how Shatter works better than I do at this point. Like, so, you know, there's that. I think the other thing that tends to happen, and this is a really, really common GM problem, and this is the biggest, I've definitely said this before, I have to have. This is the biggest piece of like pacing and momentum advice I could possibly give. Don't sit there and just expect your players to do something. You're not going to. You have to push them forward. And if there's a lull in the action, if things aren't really moving forward, just move on. Don't say, you know, if there's a week of downtime and you say, do you guys want to do anything? And you get blank stares, then your response is not to ask the question again. What you do is you look them in the eyes and say, all right, no, not finished. What you do is you look them in the eyes and say, all right, we're jumping a week ahead. This is what's happening now. You guys didn't do anything for downtime. We're moving on.
All right, well, that was a question for later.
Yeah, well, too late.
Motherfucker, don't you oh well me. I literally was like, sir, wait, and you just kept going.
Yeah, well, because I was close to the end of the sentence by the time you tried to interrupt me, so I was like, oh, I'm finished now. All right, I'll reiterate. It's fine.
Well, so yeah, I mean, to ask the first question in reference to me being like, you know, there was no real outset to the game other than do random apocalypse shit. Mm-hmm. What is like your first step when you're trying to like set up pacing for a campaign, for an arc, for like a one shot? Like, do you start at the beginning and then you do the ending and then you just sort of like wing it in between? Do you work backwards from the ending and plan the key points? Do you just fucking wing it the whole way like I do?
Now, let's just assume, because most people end up doing this, like, this is like for home games. We can talk about like, you know, pre-gen generated adventures and all that shit, modules. But let's just assume, because that's where a majority of players are doing right now.
You mean homebrew? You mean homebrew campaign,
like homebrew
not a module.
Campaign? Yeah.
Because you said home game, and I thought you were talking about the difference between home game and con game, and I was like, wait, what?
No. I mean, like most people.
You're talking about not running a module or not.
Yeah, running a module. Most people do run a home game, a homebrew game, whether it's 5e or what other type of system you're using. Most players end up doing a homebrew type of campaign. That's what I'm gonna, when I read that question and when Isaiah said that, that's what my mind goes to first.
Yeah, obviously.
Rather than a module.
Does the question even work for modules?
I mean, it can. Well, I do have an answer for module stuff, but I want to kind of start off with the homebrew, because that's where, again, a majority of people probably like think about. That's where a lot of people, when they're making any kind of game, that's where they're gonna go. So rather, I want to answer the homebrew first, and then afterwards, I do kind of have a thing for modules.
Okay.
I don't know if Josh, you want to go first, or do you want me to just keep going?
No, I have no idea what I'm talking about here.
Dick. All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, when it comes to like the home game, when it comes to like planning, like let's say it's a one shot, like one shot. I guess I'll just say the one shot module thing. You know, obviously you read it, you look at for like what are the cool major beats, what are like if you're running a one shot like you just made up. What are the scenes that kind of like stick out to you, the encounters that stick out to you, the first ideas, and just write them down. Then from there, work backwards, work forwards, and then you can just kind of build the adventure from there. You can do the same thing with a whole fucking campaign or a whole arc. Like, let's say you're like, I want the players to, go to this dungeon and fight this Dracolich. Okay, well, how do I get them there? Okay, well, there's a village nearby. Okay, why are they at the village? They were sent there from the town they were originally in. They had to deliver something, and then when they get to the town, like, you could kind of work backwards from where you're trying to set stuff, and that can kind of help always start off with whatever is the first, like, idea, the major beats of the story, a cool encounter idea you have, any major scenes that you want to do. Start with those, jot them down. I'm, as Josh and Isaiah have seen me in school, I'm the bullet point guy. I fucking bullet point so much of my fucking notes, and then I'll go back and I'll clean them up so they make sense.
I feel like, okay, hold on. I have a question for Isaiah though, because I feel like, Matt, you're answering the question based on how do you figure it out on kind of like a session by adventure by adventure prep, session by session prep.
I mean, you can do the same thing with campaigns. You can do the whole thing with major story beats.
Right. So, Isaiah, you were asking over an entire campaign arc, like over the entire campaign, right?
No, any or just like because they all.
Okay,
like,
well, those are two different. I feel like I have two different answers. I don't.
Well, they're not really, right? Because like, it's what you do on the macro, you just the micro, you just extrapolate into the macro. Like, there's if you have one set strategy, more often than not, you're gonna keep it.
Yeah, like I'll give you, Josh, I'll give you the whole, like, the 3-year, like, the end game thing that I did. Like, all right, the players have to find the 5 teeth of the dragon. Well, where are they? I have to find. I gave them to these bad guys. But where are they? I had to put them in these certain areas. Now the players have to go there. Okay, done. There you go. And you work from there, and then in between the point of where the characters are and where the magic item was, I just fill that in with either encounters. Any character had story moments. Like it's good to like work backwards, and then from there it's like, all right, well, now that I know where the item is, what's going to happen afterwards? And then that's when you can work forwards. Like, they have one item, and now they're going to go out to the next one, and then by the end they'll have 5 items, and they'll be overpowered as fuck.
Sounds like you are way more organized about this than I am.
Yeah.
Sounds way more organized than I am. So yeah, from what you're saying, you work backwards and then do the key plot points.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, well, key plot points, major scenes, major encounters. And I will talk about over prepping later, because that is something that I do and did do a lot, and I'm trying to stop that. Because it can drive DMs crazy, and I know it's a thing a lot of DMs do. But I'll save that for kind of like a later thing. And this is for like big campaigns. Like, you can also use this for one-shots. One-shots is a little easier.
Well, one-shots I have a system for. Those are easy.
Oh yeah, go for it.
I mean, one-shots I just do 3-act structure, and I keep it incredibly basic. And if I really, really genuinely, the thing is, a lot of the time when I set out to do a quote unquote one shot, I know it's going to be 3 sessions. I don't actually want to do 1 session most of the time, but assuming I want to do exactly 1 session. I literally, it's like, okay, opening scene, action bit in the middle, epilogue part. And that I will just structure it that way. And I will always make less shit than I think I need for the one shot, because like I was saying before, you're always assuming things are going to go by. As a GM, you often assume things are going to go by faster than they are until players hit it, and then you realize that players are much slower than you expected for a multitude of reasons. And even if you have really experienced players, things still take longer than you expect, because there's just bullshit in between. They might be faffing about. You need 4 people to be on the same, 3 to 5 people, 3 to 6 people to be on the same page. There's lots of things that like slow the pace down. So anytime I'm doing a one shot, I pare it way, way down and prep way less shit than I need. So example, I'll be like, all right, they're gonna meet the person giving them the job, and I want them to fight the dude. And then there's gonna be an epilogue bit after about like what that was about. And in the middle, I might say to myself, what if there was like a couple of encounters leading up to the fight with the guy? Nope. 1 encounter. Just 1. 1 big encounter, or maybe 2 small encounters. Like, keep it less than you think you need, because 9 times out of 10, because it's easier to stretch in between with like roleplay bullshit or random ideas you have on the fly than it is to take too much shit and condense it down. Well, you're in the middle of play specifically, right? Like, it's way harder in the middle of play to condense down a bunch of shit you prepared and like cut it off and be like, all right, we're just gonna zone way in, because then you know, you start thinking of, like, for example, if you made a dungeon for a one shot, which is, don't do that, by the way. But you made like a dungeon for like a whole dungeon. Yeah, don't do that. Dungeons are not one shot material. You could do a very small, like a 3-room dungeon, but not like a dungeon. But like you make like a dungeon thing, and then you realize, oh, this is going to take too long, and you just take all the encounters out of the dungeon, and then your players are like, why are we walking through so many empty rooms? You know what I mean? So it's way easier to have less shit and then stretch it out with bullshit in between than condense too much, I find. Particularly because, you know, you could just, it's so easy. It's so much easier to be like, oh, I want to stretch this out a little bit. Players, you come through the hallway and the hall's blocked by rocks, and you just contrive up like a skill challenge of some nature, or contrive up like some problem they have to solve if you need to like stretch out time a little bit. That's easier than designing a boss fight on the fly, for example, right? So yeah, like I found a lot more success with like less when it comes to one shots. Pare way down. I mean, shit. Even when we did the Workshop Watches one shot from the Arcadia article, I don't know if you remember that or not, Isaiah, the one where it was like the AI. That was too much, and there was only like 3 encounters. One of them was a mimic. You know what I mean?
You know, it's funny. I ran the same thing, but I pared stuff down for level like 3 characters. I had to cut a lot of shit.
Yeah, you cut it. Yeah, and the reason that one takes longer is because, you know, it's a cool idea. You have like magical robot AI, so what ends up happening is your players want to talk to the magical robot AI a whole bunch. So there's a bunch of bullshitting and faffing about talking to the weird AI in the building. So it takes longer than you expect, which makes sense, you know. And that's not even a bad thing. That's kind of by design. But then if you're talking about planning over an entire campaign like Matt was talking about, I don't know, dartboards are nice. I like to throw at those sometimes.
I'm just imagining the fucking epic NPC man where he's like pulling shit out of a hat. I know I used this joke once before, but he's like, all right, quest giver, give me a quest. All right, you must find 10 dandelions, and throws dart at a map in the enchanted forest. Oh, good for you. He's just like, wait a minute. You just randomly generated this quest. No, I've had this quest in mind, especially for you, for months.
Yeah, like I don't really plan that many big notes or like I have ideas for cool things I want to happen kind of randomly. And then when I get near that point, I go to myself, oh shit, wait, I need a reason for that to happen. X, Y, and Z happens. Bada bing, bada boom, you know? Like, I mean, shit, for our current campaign, I didn't even know who the, like, villain was till we were, I don't know, like fucking 30 sessions deep.
Yeah, that one I'm surprised by, because that's where a lot of people end up starting their adventures.
I know.
Or starting their campaigns, where it's like, what's the villain doing?
I think of, like,
yeah.
I think of, like, I don't know how to put it. I think of cool set dressing and like cool scenarios. I don't necessarily think about it in like a very storybook. Like, yeah, I know a lot of people think of villains, and that probably is a good idea, and I probably should do it. But yeah, like in my current game, the Oracle did not exist for many, many, many sessions until I had the idea for her and because at a certain point I said to myself, I was like, you know, because there was the whole dredge who were the bad guys, right? At a certain point I was like, why are the dredge here? They have to be here. It's like something has to have been an inciting incident. And then I eventually thought of the Oracle and I was like, oh, okay, that works. But like that was not originally, but you're getting a lot behind the curtain here, Isaiah. That was not originally on the docket. You know, like I knew
you just had the idea of the dredge, and then you never had like a reason of like why they here.
Yeah. I had the idea of the dredge, and I knew that the inciting incident was going to be the weird shit that happened in the prison that the players were in. Like, I knew the inciting incident was the players are in the prison gets taken over by weird black demon monsters, players break out. I knew that was the inciting incident to, like, get things going. But yeah, I didn't have a plan as to, like, why that was happening. I just knew I wanted that to be the inciting incident. But yeah, you know, Isaiah, you know, I wing it a lot too. It's fine.
Fair enough. So we have a wing it.
For the most part, yeah. And I probably shouldn't, because it is, you know, starting with a villain, for example, gets you a way more focused, tighter, like, you get a better result out of that. Or starting with a villain, or starting with a specific situation, or like starting with something that's very concrete is often pretty useful. So I you know, I should, but I don't really.
I mean, look, bud, I'm be real. I wing it. I wing a lot of it.
Yeah.
Like there ain't no secrets here.
Although, like, when I have a very specific idea, then I'm out of wing. Like when I have a very specific, like, you know, adventure idea that's gonna last a couple of sessions. You know, like for example, the adventure with the Angel Simon, like that, I had very like planned out. Like I knew what I was doing there. I knew exactly how that was gonna go down. You know, that was very constructed because that was an idea I had 5 ever ago.
I told I told Isaiah in one of the villain episodes the whole like Drow City bit I did players.
Yeah, which also went on way longer than you were hoping.
It went on way long. It literally took 6 months.
Yeah,
I did not plan it to be that way, but like the players were having fun in the city. So, and again, now I'm gonna mention it later on, but like I ended up making more stuff and then ended up over prepping, and then we went through a lot of it because the players were having fun in the city. And then eventually I just, you know, I was like, all right, fuck, we need to move it along. Otherwise it's going to be, it's going to be me in the party, 100-year dungeon, 100-year Underdark campaign, new campaign. We're just going to forget the old one.
Here's the crazy thing, right? Is I kind of ended up doing the same thing with my big arc because I don't know, like I felt like my players were happy that they had like a cause, like something that they can point their attention and they can go, okay, that's the thing we need to do. And it seems to be true because, you know, one of the biggest things that I've gotten now that we're doing like a different arc that's, you know, it's high stakes, but it's way lower stakes than another apocalypse. They were like, a lot of them have been like, oh, it's kind of weird because we went from like being the spearhead of a war front to we're solving like food disputes. And you're like, I'm like, yeah. I mean, that is kind of the crazy thing about being badasses, right? Is that like you guys, you just can't be badass all the time. You know, when you do badass shit, then you're awesome. But I do understand where they're coming from, right? Where it's like it feels strange. Because shit, in my first ever game, when I played Ilias, that was something we had to deal with a lot, right? Like, oh, we took out crazy, like demon worshipping cult. And then we're feeding the poor for 4 sessions. And then we're taking down like a cabal of werewolves. And then we're spending 3 sessions at like a Galleria ball trying to figure out why the governor's like skimping on his taxes.
Yeah, I feel like that's weird when that's like forced on the players, because I've had something similar where like the players live in a city, the city was attacked, and I didn't tell the players that they had to volunteer or help out or do anything. Some of them just ended up being like, hey, can I like, I'm a healer. Can I like go and heal people in the city? We have a day before we have to go off, you know, going after the guy that just fucking destroyed the city. Can I help out? And it's like, okay, Barbarian, what do you want to do? I want to go, I just want to buy a shovel. Fuck helping people. And it's like, okay, Barbarian's going to, find a shovel. Like, it's weird. Like, I feel like that's kind of strange that any DM's like forcing that kind of on players to be like, well, like, all right, you took down the thing. Now help the town rebuild or whatever. It's like, shouldn't that be like a player, like shouldn't the players want to do that? Like,
so yes, it is. So basically, in my game, what happened was, right, like a big part of this arc has to do with several character backstories. So they're like, oh well, we want to explore our backstory stuff, and it's linked to this stuff. So we're gonna do this stuff, like the story shit, to sort of unlock what we have to do.
Right.
And I've never forced them into an arc or like a job or a mission or anything. So I did it once because it was a consequence of players for some really bad roles and some decisions that they made. But yeah, like the arc was their idea, or not that their idea, their decision to go through with it, that was them. They're like settlement is having food shortages, and they're like, okay, we'll handle this. So I didn't like force them into it, but it is an interesting thing where it's kind of one of the problems I'm trying to figure out right now, right? Is like, I know what they're saying, I understand completely. I don't know how to rectify it other than work my way to the climax of the arc, which is literally like, we're on a bit of a hiatus right now, but it's like around the corner, like the next session, maybe 2, and then shit goes down. Which is this will be a question for later, but figuring that out has been a conundrum for me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so, God damn it! Now I got to do the thing where I backtrack through my thoughts. Well, so in reference to what you were saying, Matt.
Well, I wasn't saying like forcing. I want to clarify. I wasn't saying forcing the arc, just like forcing the cleanup after the arc or something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well,
yeah, go for it.
The thing is, a lot of GMs want to be like, don't railroad your players, let your players choose, player choice, blah, 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 sandbox, yada, yada. A lot of players like to be told what to do. They just
it's the meme. Yeah, the players will wait in the sandbox or waiting for the railroad in the sandbox.
Yeah, like a lot of players just sit down and look at you and go and say, what are we doing, GM? So if you say to them, rebuilding the town, they go, okay. Like a lot of players, as much as the idea, the premise, the thought of the open world sandbox where the players decide what the mission is sounds so great. Most players just want you to tell them what to do. That's just how it goes, unfortunately. I don't know. It's a thing. But, yeah, and then in terms of what do you mean, Isaiah, in that, like, you're having a hard time? How did you, shit, how'd you say it? How'd you phrase it?
Which part?
Like, I'm having a hard time with finishing the arc or something, you said?
Oh yeah, that's something for later. Because that sort of leads into something else.
Fuck, but you said something that
I'm having trouble like bringing it, like the climax is around the corner. I'm having trouble like putting it together.
There was something else you said. All right, I don't know. Whatever. I can't remember. So hopefully something will come to me.
Yeah,
but,
I mean, yeah,
you were talking about the like, it's weird that we're now doing this other thing where we went from being badasses or whatever.
Oh yeah,
and I mean, that is essentially a pacing tool, right? You have the crazy up and then you kind of chill out for a little bit, and then the crazy up and then you chill. I mean, that is actually like, that's a narrative pacing tool. So it kind of,
you need slow moments.
Yeah, it checks out. Like, even if it feels a little funny, like even in, I mean, that's how it is in real life, but also that's how it is in a lot of stories, right? Like the hero goes and kills the dragon. The next immediate thing he's doing isn't usually killing an ogre. He's probably sitting at the tavern nursing his flame spewed arm, like.
Well, like a perfect example is like, look at things like Age of Ultron or Rise of Skywalker. Like everyone, those movies
talk about
are
Age of
just,
Ultron in my house.
Well, no. Age of Ultron is just packed. It's action.
Oh, you're saying it's bad because of that? Oh yeah, no, agreed.
It's bad. It's like, what are the moments that everyone fucking remembers in the movie?
Party.
The bar scene where everyone's hanging out and chilling, and then when they're all at Hawkeye's house chilling.
Yeah.
The two down slow moments are the best parts of those movies because that movie is just.
Go on. No, I was gonna say, I don't know about you, but the thing that I remember from Age of Ultron is fucking Steve Rogers ripping a log in half the
That's
long
part
way.
of the slow moment. That's
I know.
Isaiah, that happens at Hawkeye's house.
Yeah, I understand that, but I can't. I think about the logistics of how strong you need to be to rip a like 12-inch wide log of wood, a hardwood most likely, into with your bare fucking hands.
It's fucking Captain America, man.
It's ridiculously
Wait,
strong.
And it wasn't pre-split. It wasn't like partially split either, right? So the grip strength,
braced it against his massive fucking pecs, and ripped it out.
It's less about the arm strength and more about the grip strength required to keep your fingers on the log.
Yeah. And then fucking, that's when him and Tony are beefing, and you could imagine Tony start being like, reconsidering that now.
Yeah.
But like stuff like that, or stories like that, where and the Rise of Skywalker,
Yeah.
fucking like it's all action with little to no slow moments, and you got to add that. The problem with like D&D sometimes
Was there any slow
and
bit
Rise
in
of I don't know.
Skywalker?
That whole fucking movie's a blur,
It's a blur.
and I wish I
yeah,
didn't
it
see
really
it.
is. I'm trying
But,
to
like-
think if like
I don't know, maybe Palpatine doing the bass boost. Maybe that,
That
I don't know if
wasn't
that
slow?
counts as a slow moment.
Not at all.
That took me the fuck out of the movie.
No,
took you
that
out
is
of
the
the
best
moment,
scene
but
in
it
that movie,
wasn't-
and I will hear nothing about it.
yeah, there really wasn't. I mean, the only I guess the part with DJ, that was about it. Or is that episode 8? That's episode 8.
No, that was 9. DJ is 9.
No. I think that's episode
DJ.
8 when they go to the casino.
Oh yes, that is episode 8.
That's
No, I'm
episode
thinking of
8, yeah.
what's the fuck the little what's the little robot's name?
BB.
Fuck?
No, the other one.
Oh,
Dio. Yeah.
Oh, Dio.
Yeah.
DJ's the dude they meet in the casino who's like kind of like fuck the resistance and fuck the empire. All
Yeah. What's his name?
Yeah.
He's literally just
No, his actor.
no idea.
Look
Look up Star Wars DJ.
But like
Yes,
all those,
slow moments required.
movies. You need the problem that happens in. I'm just gonna say D&D, but this can apply to any game. I'm assuming. Like sometimes the slow moments because either the
Benicio del Toro.
DM didn't prep shit, or
Emergent.
players were fapping about. They, the slow moments can sometimes drag a bit. And then that's when either orcs attack or the DM kicks things in the gear, being like, all right, guys, gives out some suggestions on like what to do next. Like
Isaiah's gonna yell at me if I continue on more, but yes, kick the slow moments in the yes.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's I think that's kind of why my players said something about it, right? I feel like they were, or they are or were starting to be like, okay, can we just do a thing? And
Yeah, you dragged it out too long.
yeah, and which I feel like it's I threw the giant teleporting T-Rex at them, and I feel like they still feel this way.
mm-hmm.
Which to me, like that was, the major arc sort of is 2 arcs merged into one. So that was the end of one major arc, and now we're about to finish the other one. They just so happen to coincide at roughly the same time. And I feel like they still are like not feeling it, which sucks. It's a shit feeling, but it's not really their fault, like it just is what it is.
Yeah, I mean you can't like them, force whatever. No.
You mean force them to like?
Yeah.
You said like them to force.
You knew what I meant. Yeah, you can't force them to like whatever, idea you have for X, Y, or Z or yada yada session idea.
Yeah, no, of course not. It's
sometimes
a
they'll hit,
confusing
sometimes
thing.
they miss.
This is unrelated. I'm so sick of using the word adventure. Because sorry, I know this is a
Where's
side.
your hang up with like these words? You're the only
Do you
person
actually
I know.
want me to answer that question? Because I I don't think you do right now because we don't have the time.
Yeah,
I
probably
do
not,
have a
but, like-
response to that, but it would be a 20-minute rant. So I'm
Is
not.
this your beef? Is it the same thing with your beef with the word campaign?
I don't have beef with the word campaign.
Or was it? Oh, someone. Yeah, or someone I know has beef with the word campaign because they're like the word campaign has lost all meaning because originally it meant like a military campaign, but now it just means any level of like story, like storytelling.
Sure.
medium.
Yeah. I mean, that's not exactly the same because
Oh, here we go. Is it your beef with the word prequel?
no. My beef is not with the word prequel. My beef is with people misusing the word prequel incorrectly. That's my problem. My beef is that people will call a game or a movie that came out before the next game and or movie and call it a prequel. People will say, oh yeah, Star Wars Episode 4, the prequel to Episode 5. At which point I say, no, you fucking idiots. That's just the movie that came out before it.
See, this is why I like
Because the
Borderlands, what they
prequel
did were
specifically came out after and is set before.
There's Borderlands 2. And then there's Borderlands the pre-sequel.
The pre-sequel.
Like, I love that. I love that.
That was a good joke. I'll give them that one as a good joke.
Game? Okay.
But technically
joke? Pretty good.
That game is still a prequel, just so we're clear. That game is technically still a prequel. Anyway, no, my beef with the word adventure isn't even really, it's not even really a beef with the word adventure. I just hate using the word adventure because it only really applies to like fantasy games, but we use it for all tabletop games, and I hate it because saying adventure in your post-apocalypse game or you're saying your adventure arc in your cyberpunk game sounds goofy, but that's the word we use to mean multiple, all we use.
You can say job, like for a cyberpunk game, you're like your job.
Yeah, but a job could imply like a session. Like the phrase adventure in the tabletop community we use to mean a thing that is going to last several sessions and is going to have an arc within itself, right? But because that comes from adventure modules, adventure paths in the fantasy genre, so saying adventure in D&D, it also comes from the fantasy genre in that you are going on an actual adventure, whereas in cyberpunk you're not, and in post-apocalypse you're usually not necessarily, so it feels weird to say. Don't get into the semantics. My point is,
well, no, I can see it fitting with post-apocalypse.
There's some scenarios where it fits,
cyberpunk,
but not always.
You can say mission or whatever. But
again, but it's not. The adventure has moved beyond genre and has become a vocab word. That's the thing. It's become a vocab, because like a mission could be one session. That's not an adventure, right? An adventure implies it's going to be multiple sessions and it's going to have sort of a beginning, middle, and end to it. But the word adventure has this very Lord of the Rings, Pathfindery, D&D fantasy thing. So I don't want to say, because you could have an entire post-apocalypse adventure that takes place in the town where the players are. That's not an adventure by the actual definition of the word, so it feels weird to say, and it's also not a fantasy game, so it fits weird. It's just a weird phrase. I just want a better word, but we don't have a better one, so I'm gonna keep,
I don't know, because now I'm just imagining like Treasure Planet, which is based on the book Treasure Island, and literally the whole thing is like, I'm going on an adventure in space, and then just like,
yeah, well, that is,
I don't know, it fits.
That like, is, no, in that case, it is. Sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't. That's the thing. Yeah. But also it has a very, like, when you say the word adventure, you immediately think of fucking Bilbo Baggins running out with the parchment in his hand. You know what I mean? Like,
that's literally what I was thinking. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It has such a specific fantasy context that I hate using it for other genres. But it's the only word we have.
Oh, it's Flapjack, where he's like, adventure.
Yeah. It's just one of those things. Campaign is a similar sort of issue, because campaign also kind of has like a fantasy yield context to it that feels weird, but whatever. No, the one that you two both got on my ass about was having beef with the word encounter.
Oh yes, that too.
But also my beef with that was very D&D specific beef, wasn't general beef, because the word encounter I think is a pretty good generic word. I don't know how we got it.
I don't either. Anyways. That being said, I was curious, because we're talking about I'm just gonna ask, what is like your go-to method, your golden rule for doing? Oh, that's what I was gonna say. Like, my thing for this arc, right? Like the whole food shortage shit was,
maybe arc's the better word.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah. My rule for this arc, which is not really a golden rule, it's not like a gimmick I use, but it was like, I wanted to tighten up the timing, because I just not in the mood for another 18 months of that. Nor do I think we could literally take that much, because they're already level 13.
Understandable.
Already, it's been 3 years and they level 13. Fuck me.
Yeah, you're a little off leveling curve for sure.
Yep. What is your like golden rule? Like, I know some people are like, no arc goes longer than 10 sessions, or like it's a really slow burn to like session 8 and then it pops the fuck off, or like, you know, there's always got to be a plot twist. Like, do you have like your go-to trick that you like doing when you're doing prep, or not really prep, but when you're like trying to pace out a story?
Cute of you to assume I have a rule.
You have any tricks or tips or things that you do?
Oh.
I feel really bad because like I over prep a lot, and I didn't like back in the 3-year game. I over prepped a fuck ton, and I didn't use half the shit I wrote. I didn't use half the shit I prepped.
Yeah.
And now, trying to be a sane person, I'm trying not to do that anymore. I try not to prep as much. Maybe at least 2 or 3 sessions, and that's ahead, and that's it. I don't fucking prep any more than that.
Yeah.
Like I'll have notes and stuff, so I don't go crazy. But as for like a golden rule, I don't think there really is. I don't think like you can have like, again, the bullet point ideas or however you structure your notes or your plot and your ideas.
Bold of you to assume Isaiah has structured notes.
I know. I'm just saying. Yeah. But like, like 10 session idea might be pretty good. I think you could probably go less.
You could definitely go less than 10.
Go like way less. The slow burn. Again, think of it like the normal, like how a story is written. You have like, you know, the inciting incident, the rising action, the climax, the falling action, the end. Like, yeah, you can set it up that way. And then it's like, all right, should that be 5 sessions? And it's like, maybe. Yeah, I mean, you can. You could put some like stuff in between those, like random encounters or random ideas you had where you're just like, oh, I want my players, as they're going to, you know, fight the dragon, they find a cave and they get a cool goblin sword. Oh, geez. Yeah, I just want them to find it. So I don't know. I don't think there is really a golden.
I definitely wouldn't say there's.
Or at least if there is, I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't think there's one universal golden rule, but a lot of people that I've seen are like, you know, like I said, like I always have like a plot twist, or I make sure that my arcs never go more than 10 sessions. Like, it's just like gimmicks or tricks that people use. I was wondering if you guys had one. I don't have one. I'm not really looking for one, to be honest. But it is something that I've noticed.
I guess you could say, like,
I mean, I would say go through. I know Josh, you don't like it, but like I think going through like, you know, social, combat, exploratory, like, mix it up.
What? I didn't say
rotate it through the stuff in between.
Who said I don't like it? What?
Because you had a whole meltdown last time.
No, the meltdown was about the use of the word encounter. I'm not against the idea of social and exploration encounters. My issue is using the word encounter for those scenarios because I don't think it fits.
Incorrect.
And I also think we overuse the word when it has no mechanical ties.
But I think you can like as a golden, like you said, someone add, you know, plot twist. Like I always have a plot twist in my thing. Everything always lasts 10 sessions. I guess my thing would be mix it up with the things you're throwing in the arc. So like, let's say the players are failing and they have to get, you know, they're trying to get to a place. So it's like, all right, we're doing a lot of exploration. You mix it up with a, you know, social encounter. It's like maybe one of the players really likes the fucking sexy redhead captain lady. And it's like, all right, we're gonna do that. We're gonna do that for a little bit. It's like, oh, we're on a ship and it's a lot of traveling the sea and exploring. It's like, maybe I'll throw a kraken at them. I don't know, combat, and try and mix it up in between the stuff.
I mean, I would.
One of those was oddly specific, bud.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily just throw in things for the lulz. I don't do that. That's for sure. Like, I wouldn't just throw a kraken in for no reason. For example.
Even if on a pirate boat?
Because then I would feel compelled to be like, the kraken needs to matter or be there for a reason. I don't like throwing.
It's just a big squid. It's hungry, dude.
Yeah, I don't like throwing in things for no reason.
The kraken's hungry. That's all the reason.
That's not enough. That's not.
It's not a plot point. It doesn't matter. It doesn't care. It doesn't care about the MacGuffin. It doesn't care about the characters.
No, that's what I'm saying though. Like, it kind of needs to have. Like, I want things to have somewhat of a like narrative reason.
The kraken is the biggest kraken in the sea, and the player's boat just happened to be in its way.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, I don't like doing it that way. But in like, I don't know. I just prep one session ahead. I guess is a pretty good trick. Like,
enough.
I don't ever really prep more than the next session unless I'm having fun with it. In Stars Without Number, because that game can be sort of prep heavy, particularly before the campaign starts, the creator very specifically says, he's like, prep exactly what you need to do the next session, and if you're not having any fun, then just stop there. If you're liking what you're prepping, keep going until you get bored, and then you stop. And that's pretty much what I do.
That's a good general prepping DM rule in general.
And like, and then and then as the like, whatever the current arc of shit is going on, if it's getting boring or I'm not caring anymore, then I just wrap that bitch up as we go.
I mean, like, interestingly enough, that does sort of
kind of it.
Well, I guess this it's a good segue into another thing, which you kind of already talked about, is
I don't know to segue.
How do you handle roadblocks in like your planning process?
With a backhoe, usually. I don't. Well,
like, because
Matt says something.
I'm someone who definitely like I'll bang my head against it until I can figure out how to make it click. It's one of the problems I'm having right now is like I know what I want to do, but I'm having some limitations. But it's too important of a plot point to skip past, so I have to deal with it eventually. Well, but it's just such a pain in the ass.
You gotta shorten the road to it then.
Yeah, honestly, just learning from like the 3-year game, just shove that shit forward. Just bring it, just plop it right down the players. The players are trapped in the desert. There's nothing to eat. Giant McDonald's just summons out of nowhere. Put it there.
I mean, maybe not quite that extreme.
Not big, that extreme.
The McDonald's rises from the grave.
Yeah.
I guess honestly, Brett's gonna get the. I was gonna say, I guess Brett's gonna get the lowdown. The problem is that I'm having trouble setting up the final like gauntlet. The final race to the bad guy, fight the bad guy, and then de-escalate the situation. Right? Like, the problem is that the situation takes place on a series of modern day industrial boats and ships, which there aren't a lot of maps for, and because like. There's not a lot of there's a lot of comprehensive notes on them. I have trouble like sifting through them and coming up with a cohesive plan for how I want to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I it's one of those things where I'm not gonna budge on the idea of having it happen because I think it's really important. And there's some other stuff that I don't want to spoil here. That will most likely happen with one of the players specifically. And that I have completely figured out. But,
how attached are you to these boats?
Wait, hold on.
I can't not have it happen there because that's where all the big important political stuff in the game is happening right now.
So wait, what is the?
It's hard to ask.
What is the problem? What is the problem you're having specific?
I kind of because our players watch this.
No, I know. But like, so wait. So you're saying? No, I don't need specifics, but you're saying you're having trouble getting them or finding a good reason to get them to the location?
No, I know how I want to do that. I'm just trying to figure out how I want to set up the events once they get to the boat. Because I don't want to do just a, like, how some JRPGs, it's like you fight the enemies in the room, then you move to the next room, you fight the enemies, then you move to the next room. Because that's boring and that sucks.
Oh, so you're just having an issue making it interesting.
Yes, like I have. Let's put it this way. I have about 100 puzzle pieces on the table, and I'm trying to fit them in the right places without it seeming like a jumbled mess of ideas.
Well, it is a jumbled mess of ideas. Always is.
Yes, but it can be a more or less cohesive, jumbled like bunch of ideas.
I mean,
have you thought about buying a smaller puzzle?
No.
Yeah. Maybe get a 50-piece puzzle.
Maybe less than that.
Maybe 25.
Like a 4-year-old.
4-year-old's like 5 pieces.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I mean,
That's what I meant. Like, or how attached are you to the boats? Have you ever heard the Matt Mercer destroy the city method? just destroy all the boats until there's only one left, and it's this is the new city boat.
Well, if that happens, then the setting explodes.
Well, that's the thing. There you go. That gives the players want to stop the bad guy from blowing up all the boats. Otherwise, civilization will end.
The bad guys don't want to blow up the boats, Matt.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
They changed their minds.
All right, Matt, freaking shut up, because we need to get some questions out of Isaiah here before we can get to the bottom of this. Okay. So the problem is you know what you want to happen. You know how you're getting them there, right? So those are the two hardest parts most of the time. Don't summon a McDonald's or whatever the fuck Matt said. But so okay, so you don't want to make it a big fight gauntlet?
No.
Okay, and why? Why are you against that idea?
Because I did that with the previous big ending of the arc, and I don't want to just keep reusing the same ideas with a different coat of paint.
Okay, but
I'm trying
the
to figure out some
into it the first time.
I don't know. You know, I want to think that they are, right? But I don't know for sure. And I asked them, and they're like, no, it was fun. But then I'm like, I don't believe you.
I mean, okay. Yeah, because I would say if the players were into it the first time, then no reason to not do it a second time. But if you don't want it to be a fight gauntlet, then I think you have to figure out a reason why everyone isn't in the mood to just pull guns on each other, right? Like what reason, what is in a fairly lawless and violent situation, what is stopping everyone from just going to plan A of violence?
Yeah, for your post-apocalypse setting, there's a lot of civilization going around here. Got the brain nerds over in the cyberpunk land. Got boat city over
purpose.
Here. Like,
that was
what's happening?
by design.
By design, I think Matt, I literally told you the whole point was it's post-apocalypse. The apocalypse is over. Like it's way past
People are getting their shit together.
Yeah, that's the struggle that the players have, is that I feel like often they want to kill everything, but the name of the game is not killing it; it's figuring it out.
Let them kill everything in this scenario.
They know this?
I mean, they could do that. That's not really like.
Is there anything stopping you from letting them kill everything in this scenario?
No, I don't.
Besides
but killing everything would solve ultimately nothing.
Okay,
but would they have fun though?
It sounds like if that. I mean, is it already it sounds like it's already a fairly complicated scenario, right?
Yes.
So it seems like the it being boring problem has solved itself, because it's already a difficult scenario.
Well, sort of.
Automatically is going to make it more interesting.
Kind of. Like, the thing that I've noticed, right, is I've played in some games where the plot is super complex and there's so many moving pieces that you're just like, I don't fucking, what are we doing? And then you get bored because then you feel like you can't.
Well, that's not. So that's not boredom. That's frustration.
Yes, I don't. I've tried. You know, I've tried tailoring in clipping the shit that they don't have to worry about, which is kind of why I separated the arc into two bits, right? It's like what the character helps the family and then passively does the overarching shit, and now that their family stuff is over, they can tackle this one problem head on.
It seems like okay, so because here's the thing, because the boring and if there's so many moving pieces and it gets so crazy that the players don't see any clear way that they can influence or affect it or really do anything interesting, that's frustration at the fact that you see no clear way. Like, there's so many problems, you don't see any clear way out of the scenario, right? That's frustration. That's not boredom necessarily, though. Like, boredom is, the answer's really obvious, or we don't give a shit what the answer is, which I don't think you're in that scenario.
No, I don't think I'm in that.
So, if you're worried about things getting too noodly to the point of frustration, where they're just gonna because I know what you mean. You do that thing where it's like, there's 8 different factions all arguing with each other, and as a player you just throw your hands up and cross your arms and go, I don't know, you fuckers figure it out, because there's so many things going on. So I think to avoid that problem, you need to sort of, I think you just gotta video game it and
clarify the choices.
Clarify and come up with like 3 choices, like 3 very obvious. And if you don't want to be too upfront about it, then try to hint at your 3 choices. And if you don't care and you just want to tell them the 3 possible scenarios, then just tell them the 3 possible scenarios like a video game. Because
you can have an NPC do it, like someone close to them.
It does. Yeah, however, you could just deliver it out of character. You could just say it as a GM. Like if it's so convoluted that you're like, okay, let me just be completely out of character, straightforward with what's going on. Because sometimes that happens. You unintentionally like screw yourself into a corner.
They might even give you an option themselves, like thinking about it.
They could come up with a good option too. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like don't because. Don't make the challenge shouldn't be discovering the solutions. The challenge should be deciding on the solution, right? The hard part should not be trying to figure out what our options even are in the first place. The hard part should be, we know what our options are. Which one are we going to go with? And what are the pros and cons of each of them? And obviously that comes with the added step of, don't make one choice the obvious best choice, right? But which is hard, but that's what you have to try to do, to make it not like clear. Do you want
to assault Arasaka with Panem and the all the nomads? Do you want to just go in there guns blazing with Johnny? You want to just pull a bullet in your head? Like, you gotta get the options. Get the options.
The thing that makes Mass Effect interesting, when you're not talking about the ending of the 3rd game.
I was about to say.
The thing that makes Mass Effect interesting is not the fact that the solutions are hidden. The solutions are very much in front of you. The problem is I need to figure out which one I want to do. The scene, I'm going to give you a very specific scene. I don't know if you remember this or not, but I really love this quest, so I'm going to bring this one up. Thane's loyalty mission in Mass Effect 2.
Oh, with his son, right?
Yeah, with his son.
Yeah.
The scene where his son has a hostage, right? And he's got the dude at gunpoint, and Thane's like, hold on, dude, like, we should talk about this. And then you as Shepard can try to talk to Thane's son, or you could just glicky his hostage yourself and just fucking cap him and be like, problem solved, right? The interesting part there is not like trying to figure out how to solve the problem. The game is telling you what your 2 main options are. The interesting thing is you chose to shoot the hostage. How does Thane and his son respond and feel about this situation? Particularly, how does Thane feel about it? Because he's your ally. So it's like, it's that kind of a thing.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what I'm trying to work through now, right? Is
so figure out.
I as far as I'm aware, I haven't presented them with something where they're like, well, we don't know what the answer is. Or maybe that's exactly what it is. They know what the variables are. They don't know what the right answer is. And I keep trying to be like, well, there is no right answer. It's just the answer you choose. And there's always going to be repercussions to that.
Yeah, they're trying to do the thing that this isn't even pacing problem so much. They're doing the thing in D&D where they go, oh, because we can do whatever we want, if we're smart enough, if we have a big enough brain, we can solve this perfectly, right? Because
I want the best ending, DM.
Yeah, I want the best ending because I can think of any scenario and you can respond to any scenario as 2 human beings. So they're trying to figure out the best possible solution. So I think you have to say straight up, out of character, there's no way you're making everyone happy. It ain't happening. You just can't.
Well, I honestly, I don't know if they will or won't. Like, that's kind of where I'm at. Where, like, I could certainly see a situation where maybe it works out in their favor. Like, and, everybody is mostly happy. But I don't know how they would do it. You know what I mean? Like, it's that thing where it's like, if the planets aligned in just the right way, maybe they could do it, but I don't know for sure, so I don't even really think about it.
you can always ask them what are their favorite factions, and then just be like, all right, which option of the endings, quote unquote, is going to align with the factions that the players like and that they want to hang out with and be buds with.
Well, so
kind of like in the Fallout games, like.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can explain this part because this is something the players already know, right? Like, the ship city has all of the food because they can grow food. The mainland can't grow their own food because the soil is tainted.
Right.
There is a place that they just found that does grow food, but it has shrunken because they killed like the creature that keeps it alive, basically.
X doing that?
Yes. Yeah. The idea is that like whatever the creature puts out an energy that is cleansing the soil, for lack of a better word. So like crops are growing there. But people have moved into that area, and it's people they care about who refuse to leave now. So they're like, all right, well, we know this place exists. If we tell the city that this place exists, they're going to send their people down and clear it out and take it, which we can't allow because that's genocide. You know?
That's bad.
That's bad. So now they have to go to the place. They have to give them information, but not too much information. They have to like, well, we got there and we fought the thing and it went bad. Like, is there food? Yeah, yes, but there's also a bunch of threats there that can kill you by just looking at you, you know? And in doing that, then they'll get the medical like hardware they need to cure Ant's character of his sickness, and then they can sort of go on further to try to solve the food problem at large. Because all they're really trying to do, right? Like, they don't really care about the other factions and their food problems. They care about the roughly 100 people that live in their community. Like, we need food, and once we have food, we will try to like help everyone else get food and do the mediator shit that we usually do. But we need to make sure our people aren't starving, because now we're losing our resources buying food from other people, and we're running out of money too. So the idea now, again, is how do we get our food? It's how do we get our food without being an instrument to genocide of one of our people's people.
And is there an option for them to lie to the boat people?
All right, wait, Matt, don't go suggesting solutions. I don't want to do that.
I mean,
that's not what we're trying to get at here.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they could, sure. Like, they could, like, that's always an option, is just fucking lying. They could have just been like, there's nothing there. It just doesn't exist.
Right.
You know? Because, like, no one knows that place exists. It's just it's a legend, right? Like, the people of the area called it Dorado because it's literally what it is, right? It's this, like, new version of El Dorado. It's where all the treasure food is.
Okay, I think we're getting a little too into the weeds.
Yes,
here,
we are. But just to answer his question, yes.
Yeah, because we're trying to focus on Isaiah's end of things, right? We don't really, the player end of things is kind of a separate thing. So, is part of the problem here that, and I'm asking, I'm not like declaring here, is part of the issue that you're worried about them faffing about for too long to try and find a perfect solution that will make everyone happy?
No. What I'm worried about is when things pop off, and they will. The only logical place that they're going to pop off on is on the ship, right? Because the whole thing is that it's an isolationist state, so it's gotta pop off there. And I know some things that I want to happen when it does pop off, but I don't know which ones I should keep or throw away, and I don't know which ones I should put first. So in theory, right, like, if there was, for example, like a big betrayal, I don't know which character specifically I want to pull it off. And I don't know who I want I want to fight them. And I don't know how I want the players to get to the point where they find out who it is, you know? Like I said, I have the puzzle pieces on the table. I just can't figure out how to arrange them in a way that I want.
Doesn't sound like you need to arrange anything. Sounds like you just need to set up all the dominoes and then knock them down in whatever order they so fall. Like, is there anything stopping you from having everything set up and then just whatever they end up doing, you just plop whichever part you need and just boop and put it in front of them? Like,
no. The problem is setting up the part, right? Because there's a lot of like bookkeeping that goes into that. If in the situation of like the trader, which to state, that might or might not be a thing. That's just one of the ideas I have sort of sitting on the table.
I mean, you can always just have like grab a bunch of like people that you believe could be the traitor, put them on a table, and then in the moment roll a d4, d6, however many.
Pick one.
Random. Yeah. That way you don't know until the moment, and you're like, well,
true, but then I have to build character sheets for all of them because the players are going to want to fight them, and they can't just have a basic attack character sheet. So that's another thing, right? Is where do I want it to take place on the ship? Because there's like 5 major areas. There's like the slum area where they're like small fishing boats, and it's all like it's a big raft area. Then there's the like high-rise area where there's actual buildings that are built off the deck. Is it like the more generalized area? Is it the shipping area? Like,
I think you gotta, with that particular thing, I think you just gotta pick one. Just go with it.
I know.
Just pick whichever one you like the most.
Roll a d4, d5, whatever. d6 -1, and then just pick from there.
In that particular, like where it's gonna happen, just pick whichever one you think be the coolest or most interesting. But like, yeah, I get what you're saying. So you're saying it's a lot of prep work if you're gonna sort of prep a bunch of different possibilities. But if you want to leave it open to there being a lot of potential scenarios, then you kind of have to do that.
Yeah.
Don't want to do that. What you do is sort of prep what you want to prep, and then whatever ends up happening, you put it in front of the players in a way that makes sense and justify it.
Funny reskin. Just use the same stat block for all the.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of what I meant. That's kind of what I meant. Like, put it whatever you ended up prepping, put it in front of them. Because, yeah, which stat block you use, for example, not really that important, right? What's important is the sort of roleplay implications, and that you can do on the fly.
Yeah, because it could be like, oh, Grandma Jerry the potion maker, she's been so nice, and then oh no, turns out she's a giant mech, and it's like, all right. You do anything.
I mean, I wouldn't. Maybe not quite like that, but yeah, I get you could. Well, and also you can also, let's say you have 4 potential traders, and you're like, I don't want to prep 4 stat blocks. You prep 1 template stat block, and then give each of them maybe 1 or 2 special ability to signify it's that specific character. Like one guy's really good with shotguns, I'll give him a special shotgun ability. One guy's real good with pistols, I'll give him like a dual wielding pistol ability, But they all have the same base template. They're all a veteran, and then one has cunning action, one has spell casting, one has action surge,
Fair enough.
Like that's, yeah. But it sounds like the fictional scenario there's already enough going on there that you just kind of let them go with whatever they go with.
Yeah, let the players decide.
If you're worried about them faffing about in the attempt to find a perfect solution, that's where you do the thing where you just have to push. Be like, all right, we're going. Come on, move, pick, decide.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not worried about because I have things planned.
Yeah. That's that's where the pacing part comes in, right? Is not letting players faff about too much.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just it's such a pain. Like I've said it to you guys before. You kind of know what's going on. I've got so much shit going on personally too that I like. Every time I sit down to plan and be like, okay, I think I have an idea. Just a myriad of shit gets dropped on my desk, and I'm like, oh, that's right. I have to deal with actual things.
Yeah.
Which is not an excuse. I'm not trying to make it that way, but it
is an excuse though, because if the priority is the more important things, so it is an excuse in that, like, I am unable to do X thing because of Y thing. Like, that is, that is actually an excuse. It's not even actually, correction. I shouldn't use the word excuse. That is a reason. That is a legitimate reason. It's not an excuse. It's a reason. Because it's, like, I don't, yeah. But
fair enough.
That being said, there is to look on the bright side of it, when you do a hiatus of this nature, that gives your brain lots of time to percolate. And you might come up with a way better solution 3 months out than if you, didn't take a hiatus. Not that you're going to necessarily pause that long, but hypothetically, if you didn't play for 3 months or some shit. Like I remember, like when we took a hiatus in December, all sorts of ideas bumped into my brain, like over the break and like over Christmas and stuff, and I was like, ooh.
Yeah, I on that, I think I am gonna, because I told them like once the arc ends, we're going on a hiatus. I might just have to push that.
Yeah, I mean,
closer up. Like we haven't played in the last 2 weeks. It might be another 4 weeks until we play again.
Yeah, you gotta do it, man.
Sometimes the hiatus, though, once you come back, the like comeback sessions are even better.
Yeah,
that's a thought.
And also, you could also just kind of skip ahead what you're currently doing. You could just cutscene skip that shit.
Yeah, 100. I'm on that. Yeah.
I know you don't want to, because I also don't like doing that, but it's on the table.
I'm the one who keeps telling both of you guys. I'm like, just cut content.
I've done it before.
And I think for a lot of things, Matt, that is correct. But to have the players, like, this is the, like, if this is the Chroma Conclave thing, you can't have them fight all of the other dragons and then skip the fucking, what the fuck is his name?
Thordak?
Thordak, yeah. Like,
right.
To skip the Thordak fight would be such a blue ball.
Right.
That would get me mad as a player.
Yes, there is. In those scenarios, I'm not necessarily saying skip the big part.
No, I'm not saying skip the big thing. I'm saying
right up to the front door of the big part.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, we have to bring the army to Thordak, or you guys can just fucking teleport in front of the dragon.
Yeah. Just jump to the part where you're already there.
Just get them to the front door. It's like, all
jump
right,
to the
now we have to go through the whole dragon dungeon, or the whole fucking dungeon is just actually one really big hallway volcano leading into his lair. Yeah. Like, you're fucking just yeah, like that's what I mean. I'm not saying like, no, like that would be like, I guess for the like Chroma Conclave thing, maybe Voragol just I don't know, just fucking died off screen, which would suck, but maybe Raishan's
no.
Here, I brought, spoiler for the show. Oh, maybe Raishan just brought Critical Role his head. And be like, there, is that proof enough? Can I be on your side now, you dickheads?
Well, no,
I think. Well, she did kill one, so I guess we're friends with her.
The better example of that is, or the slight. I mean, actually, I do kind of like the Raishan idea, but if you're using the Voragol scenario. Skip the whole bit where they made their way to Voragol and they talked to the Dragonborn and all that other shit. Just put them in Voragol's lair immediately, right?
Yeah, that's
so you can still fight Voragol, but you skip all the between. Although the Raishan idea is kind of fun.
Well, that's what I mean. Look, where it's like I had this boss. I had this. That's an example of like I had this boss idea, all the shit. But oh my god, like all the sessions are taking so long.
I'm getting bored.
Players
of this
are dragging
bit.
their feet. I over prep shit. I keep cutting things. Yeah. I just want to end this arc already. Fuck it. One of the dragons is dead. One of the dragons is dead already. Fuck it. Yeah. I'm done.
I don't know. I can't imagine a universe where that wouldn't annoy me as a player.
Sometimes.
Yeah. I would say as long as the DM says something at the end of the session. And then you guys can fictionally, like, again, Raishan killed Voragol because she wants to prove that it's like, hey, all right, I helped you kill this thing. I actually, instead of like, I helped you fight Voragol, she killed him, like, without needing you guys. And it's like, now can I team up with you? Like, I literally took down one of the dragons. And then after the game, Matt could be like, hey guys, I'm really sorry, but like, I'm a little burnt out or something. It's like, I just want to kind of like, feed this along. Are you guys okay with this? And maybe some players aren't. And that again is open communication. Talk to the players. Talk to the DM.
Yeah,
it happens.
Well,
like, it would suck, but talk.
Well, also the concession I think is using the Chroma Conclave's example as we are here. The concession is. All right. I want to get to the end of this bit. I want to get to the fight with Raishan and Thordak in the volcano because that's the cool part. I'm kind of like not into the rest of this bit. Whatever else shit. I don't want to deal with Voragol, for example. So you do whatever you need to take Voragol a scenario. You skip over him. And then the concession you say to the players is like, we're skipping over the Voragol fight, however, because the Thordak fight is the fight I actually give a shit about and want to pay attention to, I'm going to now make that fight cooler because I have more time and energy to now put into it because we skipped over the part I didn't care about. So it can be frustrating being like, oh, I wanted to fight the ice dragon. Okay, but we're going to do a cool dungeon leading up to Thordak. All right, fine. Acceptable concessions, you know? You know, like you sort of cut your losses where you can. I mean, video games do this all the. I mean, shit. Actually, I don't even have to take it in the realm of video games. Tabletop designers do this all the time. They'll have all these ideas for cool mechanics to put into their game, and they say, "Well, I want to get this game out. I want people to be able to play it. I've put all this work into it. I'm just gonna cut the bits I don't like, cut the bits that are less important, and make the bits I care about stronger. And then you know, maybe down the road, because like." When I was reading through, you know, as I've been looking at Shadow of the Demon Lord a whole bunch, there's a supplement that came out called Forbidden Rules that's like a bunch of like optional and extra rules that the designer put in or made. And he literally says in the foreword of that supplement, he says, a bunch of these rules are rules that were in the game previously, but I decided to cut for the sake of getting the book out because I wanted to get the book out. And so I took them out or adjusted them. So here, if you want to put them back in or play around with them, here you go. So it's that kind of a thing.
That's pretty cool.
And also, quite frankly, if you're in a scenario, if you're in the Chroma, like again, using the Chroma Conclave scenario, you know, you skip over Voragol. It's like, well, Voragol wasn't really the cool, interesting dragon anyway, you know?
Yeah.
So it's not that big of a deal if you skip over the least interesting of like the 5 big bads or whatever. If they had spent if like Matt had spent a bunch of time building up Voragol and making him like a super cool villain and stuff, then it would feel shittier. But he was just one of the 5, right? The 2 dragons that they really like were the 2 cool, interesting dragons were Raishan and Thordak, and he didn't. Obviously, you're not going to skip over those 2.
Because like somewhat spoilers for the show, the Umbrasyl in the show. Way cooler, way
Umbrasyl
more focused on
than
the fucking Umbrasyl in the actual like live play.
Yeah,
like how he showed up for like
he showed up
3 sessions, right? In the actual like
I don't even think it was 2 sessions. I think it was
like,
one.
It
for
was
the
the whole thing where I'm saying like in the actual like Vox Machina the live play, it was he took the treasure from the town. They killed Grog's uncle Kevdak.
Yeah.
They set the trap. Umbrasyl fell for the trap. They fought him in the city, you know, finger up the butt, all that stuff. And then he went back into their lair. And then the next episode, they went to the lair.
Yeah.
And I don't remember they got there in time or they took a while,
they killed him that was when Shale shows up.
No, I'm saying like, I don't know if they took an entire episode to get to the lair.
No.
Or they took it, but they ended up fighting him in the lair.
Yeah.
And he was, I mean, it was like, what was the most interesting thing about it? Oh, Matt gave him spells.
Well, also,
they said you could fucking give them spells in the monster manual.
Also, big black dragon, cool.
Yeah, black dragons, coolest of all the dragons.
Dragon, cool.
Like, fuck, very cool, very cool.
That's about
yeah, but like, you know, compared to in the show, like, well, you know, he's fucking, like still voiced by Matt, big plus. He's stealing magic items. He's fucking the players up. He's fucking killing other creatures that are powerful. Like they made him like the main, like a main bad guy. They made him on the same level of Raishan.
They made him more, like worth it.
Yeah, which is gonna be funny seeing Voragol, I guess, in the next season. Like, are they gonna do the same? Because it's like if they are, I mean, I'm down for it, but also. Yo, Mr. DM, we gotta speed this campaign up. Let's go. Come on.
I don't know. Like, for me, I think Voragol was way more interesting than Umbrasyl because, you know, they summoned a 18th CR demon to fight him.
No, he definitely was in the actual play, but like in terms like or specifically, wow, whole brain just.
Well, no, so the fight.
Yeah,
the fight and the planning that led up to it was more interesting.
Yes.
So then when they got, but
like, the actual character of Voragol was like pretty basic.
Yeah. Because again, quote Chris Perkins, white dragons are fucking dumb.
Yes. So, you know. But I do understand I do understand your argument of Isaiah of like getting frustrated as a player, like skipping over something that you're expecting to do. But it's a fine balance.
Yeah.
You know what? Actually, this is we kind of answered the what do you do in a lull of the story, and you sort of just said to push, like both of you basically said push it along, so it kind of answers it for it.
Yeah, kind of.
The one thing that I to sort of switch subjects, as a player, especially if you're like me and you struggle to pay attention if you're not like actively trying to push an objective, like, oh yeah, chaotic. What do you do to try to on the player's end to keep pacing up, like, or to keep yourself attentive when the pacing does seem off? Because I think we've all been in a game where you're like, what the fuck is going on right now? What are we doing? Why are we here?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, the big one for me, I think I brought it up before, was it was in that game that we were playing while we were all still, that I was in while we were still in school. And the very last thing we did is we went to Cardell's like character home. He had rejoined the party, and there was the good old fashioned, here's the magic disease that you can't solve with magic, and everyone's like, what the fuck? I hate this shit.
Yeah.
And for like, I shit you not, like 5 or 6 weeks, we were trying to figure out the cure and just fucking around in the town, not knowing what we were supposed to be doing. And like, especially if you didn't have proficiency in any of the like intelligence-based skills to do research, you're just sort of fucked. Like, what do you do in that moment to sort of, excuse me, to try to push things back on track from, with the limited power you have as a player? Or what do you do to sort of fight your way through the bad pacings?
Well,
I go for it, Josh.
I was about to say I have 2 different answers, but I guess this is actually kind of the same answer. This is kind of easier for me to say because I'm kind of already this player naturally. But I just designate myself as the we're getting shit done player, and I just start pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing and being like, in a situation where nothing is going on and the GM's getting annoyed because like, why aren't you guys doing anything as players? I will be the player that speaks up and say, all right, what are we doing next? What's up? What's going on? Where are we going? What do we need to decide on? Like, I'll start either asking the players or asking the GM, where do we need to go next, or what are we doing next? In the situation where the GM is roadblocking me, get ready to play 20 questions, GM, because we're going to sit down and have a chat. You're giving me a lecture now on every medical scenario in the book. I need you to tell me what this hibiscus root does. I need you to tell me what the roses might do. I need you to tell me if I interrogate the alchemist, if she can be, like, I'm going to just start diving in on, like, if you're putting roadblocks in front of me and that's why we're, like, not making progress, I'm going to be on your ass so hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just going to start asking and drilling for every possible question from you as the GM, because obviously when that scenario happens, 9 times out of 10 the GM has the answer in their brain. They're like, the players must collect the lavender from the graves of the dead nearby because they are blessed by the souls of those who have passed. I'm just gonna keep drilling down until the GM tells me to check out the fucking lavender bushes. He'll tell me eventually. Like at a certain point, I'm going to start fucking kicking every bush in town and being like, what about this flower? What about this flower? What about this flower? You know what I mean? Yeah. That's kind of how because A, it gives me something to do, and B, I get fucking annoyed. So like, that's how I deal with it.
Fair. I mean, yeah, I'm similar with the like 20 questions and like you've experienced this yourself. When I feel like I'm back to the corner, I'll just try fucking anything.
Oh yeah, you do.
I get a solution that I want.
You get aggressive is the only way I can put it. If you don't feel like the clear and obvious, or not clear and obvious, but if you feel like every option has been cut off, you get like aggressive, like in a very not like a fighty kind of way, but in the way of like, I'm gonna just start trying and doing things like with no regard to my own like quote unquote safety, or is to say your character safety. Which, yeah, it's fine. And when that shit happens, right? If I'm in a scenario, actually, I will give you a very specific example, Isaiah.
Oh shit, putting you on blast.
No, this is actually putting myself on blast.
Turns lantern back around on Josh, putting you on blast.
Yeah. You guys are in the Manatide, right? And you had fought through the sort of ghost of the city, right? And you had left, you had broken out of the like weird barrier that was around it, and you're making your way up the like path, and there was the mind flayers in front of you guys, right? And like probably about 3 times, you guys tried to do something, and then I said, well, no, actually that would cause this to happen, at which point we rewound, and you said, okay, never mind, we're not going to do that, right? Like, in a couple of different cases that happened. Until at a certain point, I just straight up said, I was like, you don't need to fight them. Like, you could go around them. And you're like, how do we go around them? And I'm like, your characters can fly. There's a pathway above. You know what I mean? Like, it got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm fucking this up in the sense that I'm either not being clear, or the situation is just weird, or I described something by accident that I didn't mean, or I forgot to describe something, or I did describe it and you didn't hear me, right? There's a lot of that. That happens all the time.
Misunderstanding, yeah.
Yeah, you'll describe something and then like a player didn't hear you, or they misunderstand what you meant by it, and then the thing you were describing is the solution, but they didn't hear you, so they don't hear the solution, and then they get mad thinking there is no solution. You know what I mean?
Fair enough. I think for myself, it's just Operation Rocket Man. I think a lot of things lead back to. I think Operation Rocket Man was a defining point for me in my player career of being like, the GM says you see a bunch of Abishai and fucking what are they called, Manticores, and like some Wyvern Riders, and went, nope.
What the
I don't want to do that. No, sir. Not doing it. That's going to take 12 ever. Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean,
you.
That is
not really fuck you, but fuck this.
that is kind of like, yeah, I mean, that is basically what I'm talking about, right? Where you just fucking go for it. And it's like, I'm just going to do the craziest idea I have.
Yeah, we're gonna put enough spells in one orc to turn him into a fucking lich and hold on to his ass for dear life as we rocket to the moon. So this is a similar thing happened with this.
I want to hear what Matt has to say.
Oh no!
Okay, you go.
I was just saying, let me finish. I'll go after.
Oh no! I had a similar situation happen in the same campaign, like 3 sessions later, where we had to steal an artifact, and I kept being like, GM, what about this? And he was like, no, well, they'll catch you. Like, oh, what about this? Like, oh, well, you know that they can do X, Y, and Z. And I was like, oh, okay. So this is what we're gonna do then. And I gave Luna, I gave him some like enchanted items that let him teleport. Because I was like, okay, they won't know that you're like, they'll know that magic's being cast. We don't have to worry about that. We're all magic users. They have to expect it. We just need you to sneak in and then teleport out. Say again. You sneak in, teleport out. You sneak in, and they teleport out. And I just like, I was kind of being an asshole. Now looking back, I was like, simple AB procedure. And then he teleported in. And I had to sneak out.
He snuck out.
I just sat there, and like, I know it's not 100%, but like the me going back and forth with the GM until I found a solution, because I just felt like it was taking too long. But then Luna was like, so I'm gonna use the coin to teleport in, and I just sat there like, I'm gonna kill something. I'm gonna commit murder.
It's like one of the best and worst moments, like as a GM, when like the players are like they're making a decision, they're planning, and you're like, yes, and then one player's like, nah, I ain't doing that, and then just, you know, Leroy Jenkins somehow into whatever they're doing.
Pretty much, yeah.
Fucking
out here just like you.
Like it's like the it's the Tom and Jerry meme where Tom is like looking at the camera, and then there's the ghost Tom smiling evilly above his head. Like that's the play of the DM. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted to happen.
You know what I have to say to that?
Oh,
I got my chicken.
Nice. What were you gonna say, Matt, about how you deal with problematic pacing as a player?
As a player,
Fuck, that sucks.
I guess because like, you know, being like we're all DMs, I kind of always do like anything that is the most like narrative or the shiniest like option. I'll always grab it. I'll always try and go for that. And if I like keep hitting the walls, then I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is the option. I'll just try and figure out another best like narrative option or something. Like try and like keep going at it. Kind of like Josh, where he's like, I'll just keep I'll keep going, like pushing through.
You're probably nicer about it than I am, though.
Because I've never had like a super hard DM like roadblock me. I feel incredibly lucky that I haven't had, besides the one Adventure League thing, I don't have that many bad DM experiences. That is my one bad, the Waterdeep Adventure League thing. That's my one bad DM experience. I've had pretty great DMs.
I don't remember. What was it?
Were you not? You might not have been there. That's the time where I was the barbarian and I got mugged by the cleric in our party, and then fucking the DM. What do you call it? Intellect devoured me when I was on the opposite side of the room.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, was the DM who was like, oh, I just need to do X, Y, and Z to get enough points to do my own adventure?
Yes.
Yeah, that was my only, bad DM experience I've ever had. Yeah. Otherwise, I've had pretty good DMs. Like I can say, like between like the Storm King's Thunder, Joe, Josh, you've DM'd for me, Sam. Like I haven't had like a bad DM experience besides the one fucking guy.
I don't think bad pacing is necessarily a bad DM thing. I just think it's like a bad situation to be in.
It's an annoying thing. I don't think it's bad, but I can understand like player frustration, and I guess I shouldn't be saying like it's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a frustrating thing, and it could just be that, like Josh said, just if the players, if they're not, they're trying 100 different things, nothing's working. Eventually, maybe just tell them, like, and just be like, hey, rewind time, like you guys did. Like this was the actual option. Like I didn't describe shit well enough or clear enough, or maybe actually this will be a good example. I just used this in the Strixhaven game. I found I have this PDF I bought with a bunch of like traps and puzzles and shit. And there's a puzzle where there are 4 pillars, each one has a button on it. And the way to activate the door to move on to the next room is you have to hit the 4 buttons in a certain pattern. So I thought, like reading this, I'm like, oh, this is a fun puzzle. It's pretty cool. I'm like, this will be easy. No, realize it annoyed the shit out of them players. And after like them trying to figure out for the longest time, they're like, Matt, can we just skip ahead and just like we were rolling like eventually one player rolled like a fucking 18 or some shit on like a intelligence check, and they shouldn't have. And they're like, Matt, can I just say we figured it out, please? I rolled an 18. Please, for the love of God. I literally, me, the player, I have no idea what's happening. My character is 18, though. So
please tell me.
Right. Yeah. So we just kind of fast forward, and I'm like, all right, you figure out the puzzle.
Fair enough.
Because I thought it'd be a much cooler moment than it was.
Well, the other thing, too, then, is that one positive you can take out of that is that definitely becomes a joke later in the campaign. Like, guys, remember when we solved that crazy hard puzzle? Yeah, it was so hard. I don't even remember what the solution was. Weird. That's when you joke about it. But I was going to say the pacing problem, I think a lot of the time is also, yes, Matt, I've also been put in a scenario where I haven't really had like a terrible DM. Sometimes I wonder. Sometimes I kind of wish I had a story like that just to experience it, but
just the one time,
just to feel it, just to feel the pain.
It's not great.
No, I'm sure, but no, I think bad pacing. I think bad pacing a lot of the time isn't necessarily so much a bad GM thing as it is just an inexperienced GM thing.
Yeah,
because there's an overcompensation a lot of the time where a GM who is concerned about doing well, doing it good, making sure everyone like has a good time, whatever the fuck that means. you overcompensate to the point of not wanting to tell your players what to do ever in any way or pushing them in any way. And what ends up happening a lot of time is because you don't push things forward in any way, you're not directing anymore. And if you're not a director, the movie doesn't get made. Ergo, the pacing falls apart. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's, I mean, it's kind of, it seems like a weird analogy, but as a GM, in many ways, you are the director. And if everyone comes to the movie set and the director just says, I don't know, just like move around in front of the camera and then we'll record you. That movie ain't getting made, bruh. Like, there's gonna be weird clips of people doing weird things on green screens, but the movie ain't getting made.
I don't know, man. Just do whatever. You mean Solar Beam? I mean Venusaur?
Yeah. Just do a thing. Can I Kamehameha? Aren't you playing Iron Man? Yeah, but I want to Kamehameha. Okay. Right?
Yeah, man. Just do whatever. Whatever you feel.
Don't let your players Kamehameha if you're playing Cyberpunk. You can't do that in Cyberpunk. I'm sorry.
Yeah, can I Kamehameha with this fucking gat?
No. If you're playing D&D, you can say your lightning bolt spell looks like a Kamehameha. That's okay.
What if I buy a lightning sword?
No.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I've noticed it with like newer. This is one. It's like a confidence thing too. You're not confident enough in your ability to just like push.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things, and this is sort of like a side thing. I feel like it's both a strength and a weakness. My players can and will just talk for an hour.
Oh yeah.
Pros and cons.
Yeah, I mean the issue I find is that with that specifically, for me, I will if especially if like the players show no signs of like if they're just like doing whatever, and a player wants to keep talking, and I'll try to be like, okay, and then back to you, and then they keep going, and I'm like, oh shit. Which is not a bad thing. Like, I'm happy that they're so engaged that they want to continue the conversation.
Sometimes you do have to tell them to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I just I don't really know when, because like, you know, Matt, you've said like the 15-minute rule, but that just
15. Yeah, the 15-minute rule. Yeah, if they're like talking to an NPC and you bounce. As someone who has a lot of players in their game, I have to kind of like give everybody, I'm like, all right, you get your 5-minute allotted time, and then this person gets their 5-minute allotted time, and it's like, oh, the two of you are together.
Well,
Isaiah, so you both get a 5-minute time.
Isaiah has the same amount of players as you.
Yeah. Oh, so yeah, that's like,
yeah, I mean,
I try. It's weird because I kind of have like, I have the timing feeling in my head, and I'm like I guess this is like just because I don't know. I was told in school with like the animation and everything, like I have a natural understanding of pacing and timing. So when it comes to like D&D stuff, it's like I know when a thing is taking too long, so I will just kind of be like, okay, and now we'll move on to this other player, and I'll try and give everyone their just amount of time. And it's so far, I mean, I haven't had any real issues with the player being like, bro, I didn't get enough time. What the fuck?
You know, it's funny you say that, Matt, because I distinctly remember being in class and everyone else struggling with getting like timing down, and you never had that issue.
Yeah, I think
I distinctly remember that. Like, I remember one of our teachers saying that very specifically, and me sitting there and being like, yeah, what the fuck? Why does he get it?
I don't know. It's just maybe I watched too many cartoons. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. You were able to like count out the frames in such a fashion that made it work. It's just funny. Shit, what was I about to say? Oh. Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily in the boat of put a literal timer of like you get 5 minutes. But what I do generally is if players are talking to an NPC or each other, and the topic of discussion starts to starts to stray into like superfluous bullshit, that's when I cut it. So like, if it's two players talking and the one player is explaining like the history of their family and what happened with their mom, and you know why they don't talk to their parents anymore, that's all good relevant conversation. Once it gets to the point where you mention that, oh yeah, and my favorite food when I was a kid was chocolate, it's like, all right, not relevant anymore, cutting you off, right? Like that's not that's not interesting, and it's not relevant to anything in any way, and nobody wants to hear you babble about hot chocolate. And then if they're talking to an NPC, you know, generally most of the time you're talking to an NPC to get some sort of specific information out of said NPC because, you know, NPCs are tools at the end of the day. So if you're talking to the NPC and getting a bunch of information on the upcoming quest, and it takes 10 minutes to get that info, that's fine. That's a valuable 10 minutes. As soon as it gets to the point where you stop talking for a minute and then you look at the NPC and say, what do you want for dinner tonight? And I'm like, all right, cool, cutting you off now. Like, not relevant anymore. You know what I mean? And it's not just like, it doesn't have to be just like progression important things. It could be you're talking to the NPC to like learn about their history and get to know that specific character better. That still is valuable. Like that kind of stuff I would still count as like worth going on. It's once you get to the point where it's like little extra tidbits or like superfluous stuff or just extra nonsense. Like if it wouldn't be in the script of a show, then cut your players off. You know what I mean? Like if you're watching, I don't know why I just thought of this, but because I haven't even watched the show, but if you're watching The Rings of Power and fucking Celebrimbor starts talking about how much he loves bananas, you'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
It's right? Like right after a scene, it's like, all right, we just finished the blueprints of the rings.
Yeah.
Now time for my favorite dessert, bananas.
You guys want banana smoothies? How you feel about Banana Foster?
Yeah, you put the Seinfeld like, and then you just fucking cut.
Exactly. Yeah. If it wouldn't be in a TV or a movie script, like cut it out. Don't need it. Yeah. That's
fair enough.
Because yes, there are certain players who just will not shut the fuck up sometimes. It do happen. I'm not gonna lie, even on our last session, I will specifically say Brett and Ant were talking and they were getting real close to the point where I was like, all right, moving on, people.
Yeah, Brett and Ant, geez, what's your problem?
I don't know.
They got close. They cut it off just in time, but they got close.
Well, I have no clue what the context is.
Because Brett's character's family had like shown up and sort of shit disturbed the household.
Oh, so shit.
The two characters were talking about his parents showing up, but it got to the point where they were like starting to like talk in circles and talk past each other a little bit. And it almost got to the point where I was like, all right, we're moving on, people. But one of them, I forget which one, decided to cut it off themselves. So I was like, all right, we're good.
What am I going to do? Mama doesn't like the Itzeria. How do I tell her the jackal?
No, Mama actually likes the Itzeria. Mama doesn't like him reading tarot cards.
Yeah.
Antonio, why don't you make the pizza in the Itzeria and stop playing with your tarot cards? Yeah. Mama, I told you the tarot cards are my thing.
Correct. That's literally what happened.
That's literally what happened.
That's literally what happened.
You were born for me pizza with these delicate hands. No, Mama. You don't understand.
Except for the Italian part. Saphir's not Italian. But other than that, that's basically what happened. God damn it.
What the fuck are we talking about?
Pizza.
Oh yeah, pizza. Yeah.
Or pizza.
It's with that conversation. I was really hoping, because I've just sort of turned Django into the like manager.
Yeah.
Like we have Atticus, but Django he's just turning himself into the manager. And it's basically like people are loud. It's like, hey, no yelling in the restaurant. Cut that shit out right now.
You just become the weird house mom.
Yeah, exactly. Or like, please leave us a good review on the fucking message board.
Yes. Sorry,
so I was really hoping that, like, or I think I did when the mother slammed her hand. I was like, "Who's slamming doors in my house?"
Who touched the
I was hoping there was no good break in that conversation, but I wanted so bad for when she slammed the table. I just wanted Django to be like, "Hey, you scratch it, you buy it, and go back in."
That would have been fun.
I wanted it so bad. It just didn't get to manifest.
Every customer, leave us a review on Fantasy Yelp.
Yeah,
What's
pretty much.
fantasy, yo?
That's literally what he's been
That's
saying.
literally what he did. I
Please
believe-
leave us a good review. Like we
said-
brought the captain of the guard to the restaurant because I was
Yes.
like, well, if it'll boost our sales. Like,
We need a famous celebrity. Ah, yes, the captain of the guard.
One of the
Yeah,
most
well, I
famous
mean,
celebrities in the city.
yeah, I mean, he is pretty famous. Like,
He is.
he's so famous that when we say that we work with him, he's like, everyone else is like, no, the fuck you don't.
It's the equivalent of saying like, I'm like the president's bodyguard.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like people are not casual conversation. People are not going to believe you.
Yeah.
Never mind. Not gonna go on a. I was about to go on
not
a.
gonna go.
No, I was about to go on a campaign diatribe, and I was like, not relevant right now. Reeled it in.
All right. I mean, if there was a time, it'd be it because we're right at the end. I'm about to cut it off.
No, it wasn't anything important. It was just random thoughts
All
in my
right,
brain.
then. Well, either way, do y'all have any closing thoughts?
Yeah, be pushy. That's really my thing when it comes to pay. Like, as you're the GM, be pushy. If the players are faffing about and they don't know what to do, push them in the right direction. Just do it. It's okay. I promise they're not going to get mad at you. And if there's something that they wanted to do in between point A and point B, and by you being pushy, they didn't get to do it, then just pause for a second, backtrack real quick, say, okay, what did you want to do in the interceding time? And then resolve. And then get back to the action. You know, if the player said, oh, I meant to buy a new sword, just say, okay, mark the gold off, buy the new sword. We're at the dungeon now. Like, don't worry about it. Just have the new sword. It's fine. It's literally that simple. Like, be pushier, keep it moving.
Yep. I would say, look at story structures. Make
If
sure
your players
you get
argue
some
with
slow
you, kill
moments.
them.
That too. Put some slow moments in there. Don't fucking Age of Ultron action. Give some downtime.
Wait,
Actual
Matt,
like
you're telling me that my whole campaign can't be one big dungeon?
no. Well, I mean, it can. Just don't make every fucking room a combat encounter.
All right, I have to I have to go rework some notes real quick.
Yeah, I don't know. That sounds boring to me.
Yeah, leave. Have some slow moments in there. I forgot. I actually wanted to talk about, but that's fine. Like upward and downward beats. Like if your players just had like a slog fight, like that's a downbeat. That's a downer. Like probably end the session maybe with a little, happy beat, like something they find some treasure or they save the princess, or I'm just bullshitting some kind of quick answers. But like, if the entire session has been like a downbeat, like really sad, fucking like, really kind of not bad session, but like the mood has been kind of set as a downbeat. Maybe add like a little upbeat in there, go up, down, up, down, up, down. Same thing if like, it's been like, oh, they fucking, the whole, like there's a moment where it's like, oh, it's an upbeat moment. It's like if the players are really happy. If you want to do a little plot twist, add like one little downbeat in there, end it with a cliffhanger of some bad shit about to happen, and then lead into the next session. I'll have the player suspense be like, oh fuck, I can't wait till next week.
Yeah, you don't pound your players into the dirt 24. Yeah, even the most like dark, fucking edgy, depressing like shows or TV. I mean, Berserk, right? Like Berserk, which is dour as fuck. There's still moments
yeah.
where Berserk where Guts is like maybe slightly happy, just a little tiny bit.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
if not him, one of the other
somebody
many
else
characters
is in a
around
good
him.
mood because
Someone else is in a good mood.
yeah,
There's
it's
there's
probably
a
not
comedy
Guts,
spot.
but somebody
There's-
else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with that. I didn't even think about that, but that is definitely a thing.
Yeah, and also, don't over prep. Maybe a session or two ahead, and that's it.
Oh yeah, we didn't
Don't
even
go
really
nuts.
get into though. Like that's.
Yeah, that is a big thing. Because I used to do this, and this is probably why my game took 3 years. Because I over prepped a fuck ton of content, and looking back at it, I'm like, I didn't pace this well enough. I could have cut half this shit in my campaign. This campaign could have ended within like 2 years. Granted, one of my players recently was like, yeah, Matt, but we also kind of like dicked around a lot. So it was like, it wasn't all you. And I'm like, all right. But we had fun.
I want to say something about the overprep situation, but I feel like that's such a big thing that I could have so many things to say that feels like its own entire episode. So I'm not gonna diatribe off right now.
All right. That's been us. It's been the Sessions Canceled podcast. Please follow us on the YouTubes and on the Spotifys and
Say a platform of choice. Just make it easy on yourself.
No, list every single one.
Don't list every
right
platform.
now.
There's too many. Do this.
You already did the big spiel at the beginning.
No, I didn't. I did the little spiel. The mini spiel.
All right. Well, this is the spiel that I get now. Follow us wherever you can find podcasts. Please like, subscribe, comment, follow, whatever the fuck. Try to support us any way you feel like we deserve it. And if we don't, why don't you tell us why?
If you don't like us, don't say anything. I don't want to hear it.
No, I do. So, fuck you.
Okay, how do you handle pacing?
Tweet
you
Isaiah
leave it in the comment.
At
Isaiah _.
Yeah, just tweet at Isaiah specifically.
Yeah, it's my Twitter handle's my name. You'll find me.
It's true.
Post a comment. What do you do for pacing?
I actually would like to know that. If people give enough of a fuck to like comment for us, please comment. Tell us tell me like some of your tips and tricks for pacing. God knows I need help.